last time my boss effed my wife. FMF, and woke up slowly, her head still spinning, with a dull ache behind her eyes. The room was black, and it took her a second to remember where she was. The couch in Carrie's front room. Carrie was my boss. She and Anne, my wife, had once had a very casual affair. I fully approved but was never invited. Casual as it was, the affair had cooled a lot when Carrie started dating a new guy, and essentially ended when he had moved in with Carrie. After talking about it for months, Anne had finally convinced Carrie to go out for a night of dancing. Anne drank heavily and danced a lot. Carrie had been reticent, more interested in buying Anne drinks and sitting in the booth they'd staked out. Still, Anne had managed to coax a few dances out of Carrie before the effects of drinking caught up with her. During the last dance she had stumbled hard against Carrie. Carrie had laughed and been full of helpful concern. Since Carrie lived nearby, she suggested that Anne sleep it off at her place and they'd have stumbled home together. Carrie made a bed on the couch for Anne and went and tried to slip under the covers fully dressed. She suggested just stripping down, then left the room so Anne could have some privacy. Even so, Anne just stripped down to her panties and kept a top on, feeling a little awkward, not knowing where CKED, Carrie's boyfriend, was. Now Anne lay awake, trying to focus her swimming thoughts enough to find out what woke her. Relax. She felt Carrie's hand cross her cheek, then slide up into her hair. It felt cool and soothing. Still, she was confused about what was happening and struggled to ask a question. What? Her voice came out hoarse. I was worried about you. Carrie's voice was soft. Anne wasn't used to Carrie being soft. She was usually assertive, demanding even. You had a lot to drink, and I just wanted to make sure that everything is all right. Have a glass of water. She tilted a glass to Anne's lips. And hadn't realized until that moment how hot and parched she was. Carrie's hand grew even softer as she slowly stroked Anne's hair. Occasionally she brought a hand down to Anne's cheeks, cooling their heat with her softness. She said nothing. Almost imperceptibly the ardor of her strokes increased. Anne could feel Carrie's soft breath against her cheek. Carrie's face was near, and Anne could smell her subtle scent of soap and a tinge of alcohol on her breath. Anne turned her head to ask Carrie a question and, suddenly, their lips met. Soft, moist, open, tasting of beer and subtle desire. Anne jumped a bit in surprise and found Carrie's hand wrapped in her hair, holding her close. The combination of Carrie's strength and yielding softness took Anne's breath away. She allowed herself to sink against Carrie. Their lips moved against each other, so tender, so soft. Anne opened her mouth, breathed Carrie's breath. Carrie's tongue licked Anne's lips, then slowly advanced into her mouth, slender and pointed, tender and forceful. It met Anne's tongue, and the sensation triggered a frenzy. Anne rolled towards her and wrapped her hand in Carrie's hair, pulled her close even as she clasped Anne to her. Carrie's tongue explored Anne's mouth. Searching every corner, brushing against her teeth, her tongue, the soft inside of her cheeks. Anne returned the favor, not able to believe how good Carrie tasted. Their breaths become short, until they are both almost panting with desire. Anne tried to pull Carrie even closer. Their teeth hit together, and they both jumped back in shock. The hand that had caressed Anne's hair grew more bold, moving down to stroke her cheek, to touch her lips. Carrie trailed her hand down Anne's throat and Anne threw her head back to give her access. For the briefest of moments she cradled Anne's throat in her hands and Anne felt a thrill of erotic fear. Then Anne felt Carrie's lips against her skin, her soothing tongue, and she sank back, feeling her legs spread open and a heat rising between them. Anne pulled off her shirt, then reached towards Carrie. Her breasts were smaller than any Anne had seen or felt. Tiny and arousing. Anne sat up and brought her lips to the tender butt of her nipple. She sucked hard, drawing Carrie closer to her. Carrie held her close for a moment, then pushed her back against the couch, drawing her legs out so that she was lying flat. Carrie placed her hand on Anne's shoulders, then slowly, excruciatingly, drew her fingers down Anne's body, over her breasts, down the plane of her belly. With painful slowness she curled her fingers around Anne's panties and drew them down her legs. Slowly past her thighs, over her knees, down her calves. Anne's panties fell to the floor. Anne slowly spread her legs in invitation. Anne could feel Carrie's breath on her thighs, sense her face, tantalizingly close. With infinite gentleness, Carrie pursed her lips and blew softly on Anne's moist folds, causing her to buck upwards. Cold on heat. Carrie laughed, pressed down on Anne's hips. She kissed Anne's heaving belly, the sensitive places on her sides, then suddenly and fiercely licked Anne's wimp. As she did she slid a finger into Anne. Swiftly, surely, and deeply. Impaled, Anne surged with pleasure and cried out. Carrie!